My name is Peggy LaPointe, and this is Talking Trash, a Green Tips podcast, a chance for me to dive into the world of environmental issues by talking to people in business, government, and nonprofits, folks knee-deep in the field of sustainability. Episode 64 features Jenica Barrett, Zero Waste Educator. Jenica, I think I stumbled upon you. Maybe it was my friend Betty who I saw posting posting your tips, your DIY stuff, and your blog. And I think that's how I stumbled upon you over a year ago for your Zero Waste Wisdom blog. Tell us a little bit, because I know that, or I understand anyway from your blog, that you've been into how should I say this? Promoting or living or sharing a zero waste lifestyle for about 5 years. Does that be about right?
Yeah. I started in about 2015. And yeah, I think all of those adjectives work well. I've been both practicing personally, living kind of a zero waste lifestyle, as well as providing education for other people on that. So I do that partly through my blog and writing articles about tips people can implement and DIYs, as well as just general education on our waste management system.
Yeah.
And then I also provide workshops, although, of course, currently, given our situation, I am not doing in-person workshops, but I'm still trying to provide some online webinars to keep educating people.
Now, first of all, I want to get your idea, your definition, because everyone sort of has a different idea about what it means to be a zero waster. What is how would you describe yourself as a zero waster?
Yeah, I think zero waste and being a zero waster means that you're living a lifestyle that is conscious of your footprint. And by that, I mean that you're aware of both your physical waste in terms of your trash, your recycling, your composting, but also aware of all of the other things you're consuming in your life and potentially wasting. So I don't limit myself to only thinking about trash or plastic-free living. I think of zero waste more as an overall kind of impact on the planet. And am I reusing the resources as efficiently as I can be, including fossil fuels, energy consumption, my diet? So I kind of take on a more holistic view of that, although that's not necessarily where I started. I started very focused only on my physical waste production.
Yeah, but I totally get what you're saying, because with all of the hand washing that's going on right now, I'm very conscious as I'm washing my hands how much water I'm using. So I am making a conscious effort of turning it down or turning it off as I'm washing my hands for 20 or more seconds.
Yeah, and I think that's the conscious piece is really important, because nobody is going to be able to achieve absolute zero waste or an absolute zero footprint.
Right.
So the idea for me more is that zero waste is a label to bring awareness to that footprint and waste management, but really it's the consciousness. So I don't think of there being a certain level someone has to reach to be able to call themselves a zero waster. It's more that they are making decisions very purposefully and knowing all of that information kind of behind it.
And I like that too, because I think I hear from other people that the term zero waste lifestyle can be daunting, can be kind of intimidating and sort of out of reach. But it's really a philosophy. It's a mindset. It's how you go about your day to day.
Yeah, it really is more of a mindset. And I think because of that, it can also fluctuate. And decisions that I may have made in the past, I've decided to reverse. Just that I know currently I have more plastic in my life than I did, say, 3 or 4 years ago, because now I'm eating a much more plant-based diet. And things like tofu or alternative milks often come in plastic. So I think even though we have the word zero and it feels very intimidating and very hard and fast, that zero waste is much more flexible, and that our movement as a whole needs to recognize that we need to allow for flexibility and acknowledge the ways in which not everyone can implement the same strategies.
Exactly. And even, with what's been going on currently, I get one trash pickup per month. And it's hard right now to have less waste than it was a few months ago.
Yeah, I think the medical system in general has always been something that was hard to reduce waste in, and especially now with just so much consciousness around germs and the spreading of COVID-19. It's really validated, I think, all of the plastic and the disposable use. And that's where we need to recognize that there is a time and a place for disposable things.
Right.
And we just need to be making sure that we're using those disposable things and not the plastic water bottles and straws,
right,
and all the other kind of skincare products. I mean, you name it, that doesn't actually benefit our health.
Right. Right. I want to step back a little bit and let's talk about how your journey, how your awareness began in 2015, because I think that's a fascinating story.
Yeah. In 2015, I was an undergraduate up at Bellingham, Washington, and I decided to kind of go on this journey because it was New Year's. It was about to be 2015. And I needed a New Year's resolution, and I stumbled across somebody on Instagram who had posted their, I don't remember if it was a month or a year of trash in a jar, kind of that very cliche zero waste image. And I thought to myself, it will be so easy. I'm living in a small dorm room. All of my food is made for me in the cafeteria. Like, I must not have any waste. And so I decided to do that for the month of January, and I picked out this little quart jar because I figured that would be an easy goal, and I overflowed that jar within days. There were just coffee cups and snack wrappers and Oreos and skincare products and my floss, all of these things that I had never even thought of,
right,
but I was using every single day. And that just kind of spiraled into doing a waste audit every month. I did a waste audit every single month for 4 years. In 2019, I finally stopped that. But I just became so intrigued by all of the hidden waste that once I saw it, I felt like I couldn't stop seeing it.
Right. Well, and I appreciate how you said, in your About section of your website, which I will, by the way, have posted on this page, is I appreciate that you said I failed miserably at it because it was that awareness. And I know what you mean. I've done the Eco Challenge a few years now. And one of the challenges that I've done, and I've done it because it's a reset for me, is carrying around my waste each day. And unless you see it visually and you're carrying it in your pocket, you don't realize how much waste you have.
It can be really, really shocking. And that's why I also started posting it on social media as a way to kind of hold myself accountable and just realize that these are the things I was, choosing to use and consume. And I needed to own that, as well as a way to kind of bring up bigger topics and talk about sustainable switches. But yeah, it's a hard thing to grapple with, I think. And we have such an idea of trash being yucky and it's hidden and we shouldn't ever handle it. But I think there's something really powerful at looking through it and going, this is mine. These are the choices I made. And, are there alternatives?
Yeah, and I think that was valuable for me each time, is that it made me sit and look, okay, what am I producing? Are there alternatives? And sometimes there weren't, and that's okay too. But at least it made me think about these things. And so that to me was really valuable.
Yeah, and that's kind of where that consciousness comes into it. And I think that when we think about like our footprint and our waste, we really should be thinking about it kind of like a budget. Like when we are spending our money, we choose what to prioritize. And I think we can think about that in terms of our consumption in the same way. What are the trash products or the carbon footprint heavy things that we really want to prioritize? And what are the things that we can easily swap out and get rid of so that we can do these other things that are so important?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So on your blog, you have in the home section something that sort of describes your overall view. It says it's a guide to reducing, refusing, reusing, repairing, and repurposing for just about anyone. And the ideas are really fantastic. I mean, just scrolling through the blog, you have a zero waste home guide, and everything from how to conduct a waste audit to zero waste cleaning supplies, zero waste snacks on the go, which not just for parents are great, but for adults as well. And the DIYs, which I like. I actually featured one of your DIYs, I think maybe about a month or so ago. It was the one on how to make your own deodorant, which I still want to make, and I haven't done that yet. But with all the time we've got going on, that's on my list of things to try. So these DIY recipes, are they some that you've sort of seen and tweaked and shared, or are they things that some of them, are they ones that you developed?
Yeah, I would say it's a mixture. Some of them are definitely ones that I have tweaked. For example, the deodorant. There's not very many ways to adjust the deodorant recipes. So that would be one that I kind of put my own spin on and found what worked best for my own body and then published that. But some of them definitely were more of my own creations. I have a zero waste mascara DIY on the blog, which is one of my most popular DIYs, but also the hardest. Just a heads up if you want to try it. And I went through over probably 7 different trials of different recipes online, and they were all just kind of so horrible. I did one that even had soap in it, which looking back, I don't know why I actually tried it. It hurt so bad. So that was one where I took bits and pieces from kind of multiple recipes and found one that worked.
Yeah.
It definitely is a lot of trial and error, and that's why I just feel like publishing them is so valuable, because if every single person out there had to go through that same level of trial and error, they would give up so quickly.
Yeah. Do you love the process of these trial and errors?
It depends. If there's soap in my eyes, not really.
Touche. All right.
But I do enjoy the experimenting part of it. And I just love, I love teaching. I guess the DIYs are some of my favorite workshops to do because I love walking other people through that. So it's just very fun for me to kind of have that sciencey part and just learn more about the things I've been putting on my body my whole life. I feel like I'm so much more conscious of that now, and the DIY is always kind of pushing me to explore a new ingredient or figure out how to source something that's more sustainable or package-free. So, yeah.
So, I mean, you mentioned you were going to school in Bellevue. Did you, study something that sort of brought you to this, or again, is this just a stumble upon?
Yeah, I was studying in Bellingham.
Thank you.
Yes, and I was studying to become a speech-language pathologist, which is actually what I am doing now. I now have my master's degree, and I am a speech-language pathologist. So no, I have never formally studied anything related to this, whether it be environmental science or waste management. It has been something that's just started out kind of as a personal hobby and then grown. And since then, I've taken kind of some online classes here and there and read a zillion books, but it's all kind of self-taught.
Yeah.
So I'm fortunate that I have two passions in my life. I have the speech side of me, and then I have the zero waste side of me. And currently I just do them both.
Now, you lived in Portland for a while, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
I moved down to Portland to complete my master's program.
Gotcha.
And so I lived there for about 2.5 years, and then moved up to Seattle last fall. So I'm currently living in Seattle, and that's where my partner and his family were located. So it was time to move closer to them.
Yeah, because I noticed many of your events, for the past year and a half or so were in Portland. So talk a little bit about these events, because you said you really enjoyed doing them. The past events, you focused on a lot of DIY stuff, but which ones were your favorites and which ones were the most popular?
Well, I would say some of my favorites have been the ones that were scariest for me personally. I have a lot of public speaking anxiety, although people say I do a good job hiding it. But I really enjoyed speaking at the Zero Waste Conference that was hosted in Portland. That was amazing to be able to be included in, and also just an incredible experience. Some of my other kind of more popular ones have been, I did an intro to zero waste class at one of the libraries in Multnomah County, which I don't know why it was quite so popular there, but we had almost 75 participants show up for this weekend class at a library. It was one of the biggest events they've ever hosted there, and it was just so wonderful to see the diversity of people. Showing up at a library event. And I've also done some kind of more private events, I guess. Some businesses will have me come in and offer workshops to their employees as kind of a wellness or health program. I've done a couple workshops for the Clark County Public Utilities, as well as a few private groups in both downtown Portland and outside. So I do kind of a wide variety, and I think that's kind of what I enjoy most about it, is that I do workshops where some people, I wouldn't say forced, but some people may not have been super excited to come, and they challenge my views and ask really intriguing questions. And then I have other workshops where it's a crowd of people that are absolutely on board. And so I think that kind of keeps me on my toes.
Absolutely. And all but the most recent one have been in person, correct?
Yes, that's correct. I've always done them in person, but now I'm starting to offer some online.
Right. The March 28th one, Intro to Zero Waste Living. How did you prepare for that one?
Yes. Well, I watched a lot of other webinars to try to learn about the platforms. And did some trials, but I took what were the most popular kind of points from my in-person workshops and tried to design a PowerPoint that reflected that. And then also the kind of collecting the materials, because usually in an in-person workshop, I like to have a table that displays all sorts of options. I still wanted to give people that same opportunity to at least see things. So although it was virtually, I did have some of the materials on hand to be able to demonstrate there exactly how that would work or what it looks like, to try to provide a similar experience. What was wonderful about it was just that people from all over could connect in, rather than my in-person workshops, which were very potentially isolating in terms of which communities could access them and where. This could have people from all over the country or even from all over the world tune in, which was exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you think that you're going to offer more of these with or without, sort of our current way of living where we're, staying at home a whole lot more and, avoiding larger crowds? Do you think this is a nice way, this might be a way that you transition for the time being?
Yeah, I think my plan is to schedule more of these, more kind of intro to zero waste living workshops. But I'm also thinking about rolling out kind of a weekly DIY webinar.
Oh, fun.
Every week. Yeah, maybe kind of like a Wasteless Wednesday webinar thing. Yeah. Just because I do think that we, at this point, are staying home a lot more. And if I can reach more people and provide potentially an activity that they can experiment with while at home, I've got more time on my hands as well, so now's kind of the time to trial it.
Well, and it's a nice way to stay connected as well. We're all looking for these virtual ways to stay connected, and so this is a nice way to do this as well. Also, one other thing I saw on your website, which I really, really love, and it's a quote that you have on there: "Everyone can't do everything, but everyone can do something." Do you find that once folks do something, they want to do something more?
I do. I find that it has a snowball effect.
Yeah.
And anyone who has started looking into zero waste living really just can't stop. And it's one step after another. I think sometimes people recognize that there are barriers or that there's system level change that needs to happen in order for them to implement those. So I think some people do then become very much kind of politically engaged in that way. But I feel like there have been very few people who have been introduced to this way of life who then say, nope, I'm not going to think about that anymore. It has a way of really kind of digging itself into your brain.
Well, it does. And I think that there are so many different angles. There's oh my gosh, I didn't realize this was so easy. Oh my gosh, I didn't realize I could save so much money doing this, and so on and so forth. And you're right. I mean, I even talk to people here at the station because we have a green team and we have a monthly newsletter, and I've had people come up and say, oh, I didn't know that, and now I'm doing this. And that's kind of cool as well. Yeah.
I mean, there's, like you said, so many different ways to look at it and so many benefits in terms of saving money, reducing your chemical exposure. Like you can look at it from even a health perspective, or even looking at, the economy as a whole and government level change. I think there is an angle and a buy-in for just about anyone if they really start looking into the zero waste movement.
I agree. So, Jenica, we can find you, first of all, of course, I'll have a link on KINK.FM, but also you're on Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest, and I highly recommend following Jenica because there's always some good ideas. And like I said, that DIY deodorant is, and my 13-year-old was actually pretty curious about it, so we were going to work on it together.
Good.
But it's fun things to tackle, fun things to take on, and thank you for doing all the mistakes for us.
Absolutely. I'm happy to make the mistakes for you.
And thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Peggy.
Thank you for joining me for my conversation with Jenica Barrett, Zero Waste Educator. If you've missed any of the previous podcasts, you can find them at our website at KINK.FM. Be sure to like and subscribe to Talking Trash, a Green Tips podcast, on iTunes, Google Play, or wherever you're listening. Talking Trash is a podcast series featuring people in business, government, and nonprofits, and sometimes just regular folks in the Portland area and around Oregon who are having an impact in the world of sustainability.